We back. We have our little special guest today, one of our childhood homies. I'll let him introduce himself.
Yo, what's up? My name's Julio. Um, First time on the pod, long time listener, first time visitor. First,
I like it. I
Well,
like it.
Julio, welcome.
Uh,
We've been talking about this for a while now, trying to get a guest over, and we felt like you'd be one of the best options.
dude, hell yeah, I'm the closest option.
Facts, facts. But yeah, let's get started. We were on a little hiatus, life, all that stuff. But we back. Just wanted to get into current stuff going on. I guess we can start with NBA Finals. That's the thing going on right now. We have the Denver Nuggets versus the Miami Heat. Game one already happened Thursday. I believe game two is tomorrow night, Sunday night. So, um, tell you the truth, I didn't watch game one because my team, the Lakers, are not in it. So, didn't really have too much thought on it. I know Denver was really killing them in the pick and rolls and everything like that, and Miami Heat didn't really get to the line. That's what I kind of observed. Um, I don't know if what's your interest level in this NBA Finals. I
No,
guess.
I'm interested. I like Jokic. I like Jimmy Butler. I mean, I think the teams I think there's a big the big narrative, right? Is that like everybody right now is like doesn't really care because it's not like Lakers Celtics or
Yeah,
whatever or Lakers
not like
Miami.
the big market teams.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
So I mean, I think it's cool. I like Jokic. I like I think if I mean it's historic too. Like if Jokic wins like back to back MVP and then now he's a champ, right? Like leads like now has like the most triple doubles like in I think it's like the like
playoff
playoffs.
history, yeah.
Like he just passed Wilt, which is like an insane like I don't know like whenever you pass Wilt in anything, it's like ridiculous because
You're
like
just a monster.
yeah, you know what I mean. So like um yeah, I don't know. It's pretty crazy. Like I think he wins, right? Like Denver gets the first championship, also too. And then does Jokic speak? Like where does he like? I feel like I don't know because like if Jokic wins, I feel like it's a bigger deal if he wins than it is if Jimmy Butler wins. Like if Jimmy Butler wins, like yeah, he has a ring, but like I don't think he's not anywhere near as like goated as like what Jokic would be, right? If he won a championship, I think so.
But the thing is, who do you guys have winning?
Um, I think Denver's gonna win. I think Denver's a better team. I mean, hopefully, I want Miami to make it a series, but if they, I feel like it's more like hope than really is like reality. I think Jokic is crazy. Their team is.
How many games?
I think they do I think they get like the gentleman sweep. I think it's like 3-1. I think Miami's spent. I think yeah, like they may have the momentum, like winning a game seven, but at the same time, like you had to beat a team that came back down 0-3, right? And they were like everybody was kind of like rooting for them. Like yeah, you took them down, but it's like I don't know, like how much did you spend trying to take them down, you know? And like, do you have enough to like go 7 games, make it 7 games with this against Denver? Because Denver is crazy, bro. Like Denver's like Jokic is insane. Denver's team is huge, and like I mean, they're just like a solid squad, and so is Miami. But I don't know. It's like I don't know. I think that like if they're gonna win, it has to go to like 7 games. I don't think they're gonna be able to bully them around like it's the Celtics. Because like Celtics is like I don't know. They're a young team, you know, and like I feel like you could just kind of bully them around. Like I think people saw that.
What's crazy is that we've been underestimating Denver like this entire season. Like I remember to end the regular season, how Denver was losing games. Some people were saying they were trying to avoid possibly facing a lower seed who might beat them in the first round, like the Warriors, Clippers, Lakers, Suns,
Yeah,
something like that. But they eventually faced those teams in the playoffs and they beat every single one of
bro.
them.
Yeah,
So I think we've been underestimating Denver this entire season. I agree with your point how if Jokic wins, he's already going to be on a historic path, which
yeah,
is crazy to think about. Which I don't think anybody saw that going as a career projection for him. But I honestly want Miami to win. I'm going to say Heat in six because I want them to win on their home floor. And I just think I know Jimmy Butler is starting to get his respect and everything like that. but I feel like he's never solidified himself as like that bona fide top 10 in the league player. And I guess in the Celtics series, he kind of slowed down. But if we remember, like that Knicks series, like and the Bucks series, he was incredible. He was the number one playoff player at that time before Nikola Jokic started losing his mind in the last couple series here too. So I want Miami to win because I want them to get their respect for the culture that they've built, how they have probably one of the best coaches in the league and Eric Spoelstra who can get the best out of everybody, how he can have Caleb Martin taking 4 out of the 9 votes for Eastern Conference Finals MVP from Jimmy Butler is ridiculous. Caleb Martin, I think he was undrafted. I know him. He went to Nevada because he used to play my school in college, so I know him pretty well. So it's pretty cool to see how Heat culture can have all these guys, Struce, Duncan Robinson, a bunch of guys who no one really wanted, and they can just bring them, use them to the best of their abilities as like 3-and-D wings and all that. So I kind of want Heat. What you got?
I'm actually very okay with both of them winning, but I am leaning towards more Nuggets. I feel like Jokic is the best player in the league right now, and I just don't think Jimmy Butler has the gas anymore because if you really look at all the games he went off, the teams aren't really like capable of guarding him. You put Drew Holiday on him, he's too small against the Bucks. Who was the Knicks? Was next? No one could guard him. The Knicks. No one. I think Celtics. For some reason, Tatum and Brown are just not it during the playoffs, and I think it's letting go of their coach. Um, Mazzulla is the new coach. I don't think
They already announced.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't think he's very good at like, well, not very good. It's just like he had to take it in, like be the head coach like super early in the season, like right when it started, and they're like, oh man, like what are we gonna do? And I just I don't think Jimmy Butler can do what he like score 40 points off like Aaron Gordon, MPJ, or like they're like big bodies, big bodies.
But that's what I was saying during the Celtics Heat series. Jimmy wasn't scoring 40. I believe after game 2, like he wasn't really scoring that much. It's because the Heat did really well about switching off of screens on him and throwing more bodies on him, which made other guys step up, like a Caleb Martin, Struce, Duncan Robinson. Yet Bam had to make shots off of the switch when he'd have like a Derek White on him or someone smaller. So I'm saying like it's going to take a team effort from the Heat. There's no way Jimmy will be able to outstrength Aaron Gordon in a 7 game series because Aaron Gordon's what 6'8", 6'9", stout build, really good defender, and they're going to throw guys on the help at him. So like I said, it's going to come up with the other guys. Bam has to have a good offensive series. Of course, I'm always going to trust Bam on the defensive end, but um, what I wanted to talk about is if Jokic wins, is he top 5 in the league, or is he already top 5 in the league?
Who's 5? Who's your 5?
Who's my 5? God, on the spot. Giannis. I love Giannis so much. Steph. I think Steph is still the second best player in the league, without a doubt. Luca. Luca's just incredible. KD, whenever KD actually puts in effort, fully healthy, I think is a top 4 player. And then that 5 spot is where I always get stuck because I really want to throw in Embiid, but I feel like Jokic is just incredible. How he can masterfully control an offense,
Yeah.
and he's not like the most athletic player ever, but he just has such good basketball IQ that I have to put him 5, which kind of sucks. 'Cause I feel like Braun was always my number 5 for the past year, but Braun's approaching year 21. Man's super old. He's still averaged almost 30 points a game this season, but it's just like he's not what he once was defensively or his shot making. So I think Jokic is 5, but does that like solidify him as one of the top players in the league with the championship?
Yeah, I think that moves him definitely ahead of Embiid.
Or a better question is, who's your top 5?
I'd pick Giannis first. I'd move. I'd probably put Steph 3 and then Steph 2, then LeBron 3. I think I'd still take, like, even though LeBron is like I think everybody's just caught up like in the Curry like take like 40 50-foot fucking jumpers, you know what I mean, and then like drain it, and or like you know what I mean, you see guys like Damian Lillard like do that shit, and he's like average like height human being, right? So like I feel like that like when you're like a super huge guy, like it's been like dominant as like LeBron is, and you kind of feel like, oh, I could do that too, right? And then like I think like I remember like being younger too, and like him developing like as a shooter like in Miami, right? That was like the big thing. He's like, I'm working on something, and then he added like the three to his game, and that was like, oh, and now LeBron's like next level, right? But I think when LeBron like his bread and butter, or like when we need a basket, right? It's always like give it to LeBron like 6'8", 6'9", like 250, like 250, but not like a built 250. Like it's just like, you know what I mean? Like this guy could probably still line up and run like a 4-5, like 4-4, like
Hey,
if he
man,
really tried.
his Miami days, he was stout.
Yeah,
He
dude,
was
he was
stout.
insane,
He
bro. Like,
was,
so I mean, like I think like, but still now like 39 years old, like 38, 39 years old, like I think when he needs to put his head down and get to the basket, like there's no one that can stop him still. You know what I mean? I think that's what makes him.
and we saw that in game 4 against
Yeah,
the Nuggets when
yeah,
they were on the brink. He pretty
exactly.
much put his head down,
And then
started
and
driving.
yeah, and
Yeah,
like the worst thing, like the biggest criticism I think is like like that he takes terrible shots, right? And like yeah, he'll take terrible threes, and it's just like that's not who like I think I guess that I get that that's who the player he wants to be, but that's not like who he should be, especially like, when it comes down to it. And it's like, and even he knows, I think at times, like I need a basket, like I need to drive to the basket, and try to get some points that way, because like no one can stop him, like anybody in the league. So I would put him at 3, 4. Out forward would probably be Jokic, and then 5, yeah, KD when KD's healthy. I think I honestly, but I'm not the biggest fan of KD. I think I feel like um but he's a great player though. Like he's a great player, but like I feel like when you have like that GOAT conversation, like he's nowhere near, I think, in that conversation.
yeah.
Yeah, it'll bring me to my top five. I think I'm going a little different with you guys. I got Jokic as the best player right now. I just don't think I just don't think anyone can guard him. Like if you like get up on him, you suffocate him, he'll pass the ball someone else. He'll like sambo shuffle, hit a three, like nothing. Yeah, I just think he's the first. I'll go Giannis second, mainly because Giannis still hasn't developed a shot. Like if you look at the Miami Heat playoff, the last game, he couldn't shoot, save his life. He had like under 20 points, something like that. He had a bunch of rebounds, but that was about it. If you're the best player in the world, you got to be able to shoot some, at least a little bit. Number three, I'd go Steph Curry. Steph Curry. He did, like you said, he is like a transcending player. Yeah, yeah. He makes like little guys like us like feel like we can make threes. And number four, I gotta go LeBron still. I still think even though his body isn't what it used to be, like he can't. He still has the IQ. He can't always like put his head down and like drive like he did like all the time. Like you saw in the last play of Game 4, like Aaron Gordon and Murray just like fought the crap out of him. Like he can't just power through that anymore. That's not who he is anymore. Because I mean, dude's about to be 39 this year. Like we're asking so much out of him for a 39-year-old. Well, we don't really ask anything out of like Davis, something like that.
Yeah. How old is AD? Like 29, right?
It's like 30 in his prime.
But that guy's always hurt.
Yeah. And then that brings me to number five. I think I'll also go with KD. I think KD is still top five player. He might not like look like that because like he was getting doubled a lot during the Nugget series, and he was just letting Devin Booker like go off. But I still think he's top five for me.
Yeah, KD, when he like goes all in and just like he's not injured, yeah, he's definitely like top 5 for sure.
He's still arguably the best scorer in the league right now.
Yeah, easily.
Yeah.
When was the last time you saw someone block one of his shots?
Probably like Giannis, but like how
Yeah,
fucking huge is
exactly.
Giannis? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
James Jones, Miami Heat days.
Random, but that's a long time.
Exactly,
That's a
yeah.
long time.
I remember he blocked Dirk Nowitzki, the only guy that blocked Dirk and KD, like on his like jumper.
But that's a long time.
Yeah.
What is that? At least 10 years if it's James Jones, Miami. Jeez. I remember when they were when like the actual Denver Nuggets players were talking about how opponents feel playing. I remember, I think it was Aaron Gordon. He was talking about when he used to play at Denver when he was on the Orlando Magic. That was the team he was on before. He was saying like it was almost impossible to like breathe at some points because the elevation is something that he had to eventually get used to, which I'm sure his body is accustomed to now as he's been there for a couple years. But that's something to actually think about with Denver. So that's pretty cool. That's pretty interesting. Any other places you're traveling to besides that?
I think are we still gonna go to Japan here? We all keep talking about going to Japan.
Yeah, I think that's the goal, at least for the end of the year. Japan. I'm going to Mexico City like in 2 weeks with a couple other friends. Well, Kobe and my cousin.
If we go to Japan, will this be like both of your first Asian country?
Yeah, yeah. I've never been anywhere near it before. Where have you been, buddy?
I'm trying to think.
Where
Like, am
have
I
you
like
been?
somehow
What
made a stop
you like?
in some like Asian country while I'm on my way to like Nigeria or something like that? I don't think so.
No.
Yeah, would be a first, probably.
Yeah. Well, I primarily like only go to Asian countries. Where else have you been?
Barcelona. Went to Barcelona at the end of last year.
Barcelona.
Well, Spain. Like went to Barcelona and Sevilla, so that was cool. That was different. I think that was like my first big trip. Like really, like um, that was like really planned a lot and all that type of stuff. And but yeah, I think I think after from that shit got me kind of hooked, and I'm like, damn, I'm trying to go to more places and see just more shit in general and be out. Yeah. So like when I went to Barcelona, it was awesome. Like everything there was like so different. Like everything there was like obviously it's different, right? You're somewhere completely far, but like also the like the lifestyle, right? Like everything there is kind of like really starts really late in terms of like yeah, you see people working stuff early in the morning, but I feel like most people in general, like if you're in school or you're a little older or maybe you're done with school, you're just working, like most people kind of get their day started a little later. And then when you're out there, like everything closes like 2 to 6, 2 to 7 o'clock in the middle of the day. So like if you want to go out to like a restaurant or something, you can't get like a cooked meal. You probably have to get like a drink or something that's like a pastry. It's like something you don't have to eat cook, something they just give it to you to eat. And
But why is that?
because they take like a siesta or whatever.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like a
relief.
little yeah,
Relief.
like everything's closed. Like in the middle of the day. Like over there in Barcelona, there's like a big like a market, and it's like a big night market. And but that it's open all day long, but it's closed like 2 to 6.
Yeah.
So then you go back like 7, 8 o'clock, and it's like popping. Like everybody's there, like selling a million things, and it's crazy that everything starts late because of that. So like there'll be a restaurant that's open, and you can maybe get breakfast real early in the morning. Within like 2 o'clock to 6, 7 o'clock, completely closed. Like the kitchen's closed, but you can go in and get a drink or whatever. But then around like 8, 9 o'clock, you see everybody out in the street like going to get dinner. So one of the first nights we were there, we wanted to go to like a club, and we get to the club, and it's like midnight, and we show up at the club, and there's like nobody there, and we're you know what I mean, and then
You said at midnight?
yeah, we show up at like midnight, like 12:30. We get in and there's like nobody there, and then like oh like what the heck, like it said, you know, when we were checking, like it says popping or whatever, this doing this and that. And then the lady that we talked to, the bartender, we're like, where's everybody at? And she's like, oh, you guys American? And we're like, yeah. And she's like, well, yeah. She's like, is it too early? Like, you come back like at 3. She's like, it's gonna be lit. And I'm like, what?
Dead giveaway.
And
You
so
guys are there
yeah, so
early.
then I was like, dang, cool. It's like in America, like everything closes at like 2 or 3.
Hella.
You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
at least around around these parts, you know.
Literally,
So
like because I'm sure when you were there, they were still serving up drinks and everything like that all
yeah,
night, right?
yeah, everywhere like
While there's like
24.
in the United States, there's like a cap on even
Yeah,
buying
exactly.
drinks, like at like what
Yeah,
was it 4 a.m.
yeah,
So or maybe like
yeah.
2 a.m.
It's
something
2.
like that.
Yeah, over here
Yeah,
at 2, like the bar closed at 2. Like
yeah.
everything closed
Exactly,
at 2. So like
exactly.
uh over there it's like kind of normal. Like on Friday, Saturday, like you do your thing whatever during the day, and then get dinner like 8, 9 o'clock,
Hmm.
and then you're munching from like 9 to 10, 11, and then 11 o'clock midnight the restaurant will close, and you'll go to a bar that's open from like 1. That's open to like 2, or sorry, not 12 to like 2 or 3, and then the club will open at like 2 or 3, and then you show up and everybody's showing up. So then the club will go from like
That's
2 or
wild.
3 to like 6, 7 in the morning.
Yeah.
And then yeah, like, that's how people do it over there. So like when we showed up at midnight, it was like, dude, there's no one here, bro. Like go home and like chill and then come back in a couple hours. So then one of the days that we were there, we decided to like do everything late. Like we woke up late, had breakfast really late, had lunch really late, went and got dinner like at 9, 10 o'clock at night. Hit a bar after dinner, was at the bar for like a couple hours, and then went to the club. And yeah, sure enough, bro, we get to the club like 3 in the morning.
Popping.
Packed, dude.
Yeah.
Like fat line to get in.
Yeah.
Like everything. And then like we were just chilling there waiting and we get in. Yeah, it's like super litty inside. And then you get out and it's like 5, 6 in the morning. So then you go home, knock out, and yeah, and then you know do whatever you do the next day. But that was kind of like the vibe there for like the younger crowd, you know.
What would you say is like the biggest difference with like Spain and Mexico?
I mean, just like yeah, they're both Spanish-speaking countries, but like, I mean, Mexico was like ruled by Spain at one point, you know. So like, I think a lot of times with like countries that were like colonies or like ruled by some other place, they tend to be just like a lot like how like lacking infrastructure and stuff like that. So like, I mean, I think Spain, you kind of get that vibe where it's like a little safer, definitely. Like in Mexico, there'll be places where it doesn't really necessarily feel like it's safe, or you know what I mean. It's just a lot more like modern like society. In Mexico, like yeah, there's places like Mexico City, right? Other like South like Cancun, like places that are very like metropolized, right? There's like a lot of people. It's very modern, right? So it doesn't really give a difference from being too crazy. But then you kind of go off the grid a little bit and like go into like a little town, and it's just like there's like no rules there. You know what I mean? You do it. There's like no fucking doctors or anything. You know what I mean? No cell reception. Like in Spain, it's like it's all kind of like city. Yeah, there's like rural parts, but like at least like Barcelona, right where we're at, it's like a huge international city. But I mean, it's awesome there. Like everything, everything is pretty cool. Like people, I think for the most part, feel like really chill, right? But I think that's probably like the benefit of like being like a citizen, like a European country. You get like free healthcare and shit. Yeah.
How's like the social culture there? Like, are people more like forthcoming
Yeah,
and all that?
I think like in Barcelona, definitely like especially Barcelona, because we were in Sevilla, right? And after Barcelona, and Sevilla was like a really small town compared to Barca, and like,
Hmm.
in Sevilla, it's like a lot more old timey and a lot more slower and smaller town vibe.
Hmm.
So there, like, I think it's more older people too.
Hmm.
So you feel like it's kind of just like a lot more secluded, and people doing their own thing. But in Barcelona, it's like bars everywhere, restaurants everywhere, things to do, like get your photo taken, this and that. You know what I mean? It's like a huge metropolis, and it's really international. You see so many people from like Africa there because Spain is really close to like
Yeah, right
northern
there.
Africa.
Yeah.
So then you see a lot of African people, a lot of Asian people, um, a lot of like Latino people too, because there's like a lot of people that we met there that were from like Argentina, Peru, Colombia. It's like a lot easier. Chile. It's a lot easier to get to Spain, to get a visa to Spain, and then than it is to come in to the U.S.
Mhm.
So a lot of times, a lot of people from those countries go to Europe and to like pretty much find the same thing they're looking for here. Better pay and better job,
All
etc.,
that.
etc.
Yeah.
So like they went in. I met a lot of people too that were from like Latin America or like Brazil but so yeah, every day you meet all types of people. But I think because more it's European, like you meet like a lot of French people, a lot of like Scandinavian people, a lot of like one time we were in a bar watching a Barcelona game, and we were talking to like this group of girls who were all students studying there at the university, and like one girl was from like Georgia, like the country, and like another girl was from Germany, one girl was American from Chicago, and another girl was like uh I forgot where she was from. But they were all from like different places, like it was pretty cool. So you meet a lot of people like that, like other European countries, Italian, French people.
Because you can like freely roam among
Yeah,
members
yeah,
in the EU,
yeah.
right, in the
So
European nations
it's a
too.
lot easier, and
Yeah.
it's pretty cool too. Like being over there, over there too. I think you see like what people kind of hate America too, because like, or at least other countries in Europe. You know what I mean? I feel like European countries are kind of like sick of Americans. You know what I mean? Like, and like when we were there, they were like I don't know, like America. I don't know. It's really crazy because like over there, people speak some different languages. Like we'll talk to a guy and he knows like Portuguese, Italian, Spanish, and French.
It's because in
Yeah,
school, like at a
Europe.
young age,
Yeah,
like they're taught many
yeah, and
languages
many
and all
languages, and
that.
then
Yeah.
also too like you're so close to other countries. You know
Other
what I mean? So
proximity,
like
yeah.
if you
So
grew up like in a country, a family that had like some money, right, and you can take a vacation to like France, more than likely, like if you do something like that, like you go on the train and you go with your parents, or you can fly, right, or whatever. But
mhm,
your parents are taking you or whatever, so they probably speak a little French, like little words here and there, and
yeah,
you kind of pick up on that stuff from like a young age. So like as you grow older and you do stuff like that, especially in Europe where all the countries are next to each other and they all speak different languages, like
yeah,
it's a lot easier to pick up. So like you meet a lot of people like that who speak more than 2, 3 languages, you know. And in America, it's like English only, you know what I mean? Like English only, and so I think you kind of like see that. I think you see that big difference there. You know what I mean? I think there's a lot more people have a larger like propensity to like experience different things because you're exposed to so many different things.
yeah.
So like OV versus here in like the US where it's kind of like people are like proud to only do like US
Yes,
stuff.
like
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they don't want to like get exposed to other things. So like I think you see that difference there in people too. Like
and also I feel like the U.S. we try to impose our culture so much on
yeah,
like
I
other
think
aspects of like other people's cultures, and it's just
yeah,
like you know,
yeah, definitely. And I think that yeah, I mean it's like that too. Like I think you see that. I mean, all throughout like the U.S. But like, yeah, and I think that's the difference too. I think that's like the main thing you see there. Like people kind of like are willing to do other stuff and like experience other things and talk to other people, versus like here where it's kind of like if you vacation here, it's like yeah, you probably only go to the big city, but even then in the big city, I think it's like LA is like a big city, right? But like I don't know when you get go to when I went to Barcelona, dude, it was like a completely different vibe in terms of like how international it is and like how many different types of people that are there. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy, like all the amount of people that are there, and they all speak some type of Spanish too. It's pretty crazy. Or like in Barcelona, Barcelona, like they have like a local like dialect called Catalan.
there we go.
So they're like where Barcelona is like a part of Spain that people consider. Some people that are from there consider that to be independent of the country of Spain.
Wasn't there like an issue with that
Yeah,
like
like those
a
people
couple
wanted to
years
leave.
ago, like cause like they're their own state kind of,
Yeah,
right,
like
and they wanted to like
they're their own region. Like it's called Catalonia,
yeah,
where
they wanted to be
Barcelona
like
is, right?
sovereign of
Yeah,
the
so they're like we're
country.
so there's that was like a big thing too when we were
Yeah,
there. A lot of people in their apartments or whatever, or like their flats and shit
yeah,
like that. Like they have a different like there's a Spanish flag, right? Like the red and the yellow,
yeah.
and with like the little crown or whatever. But then there's another flag that people were hanging on the side of their balconies, and you could see it all throughout Barcelona, like in the apartments. And it was like a red and gold striped flag, and it had looked different. You know what I mean?
That's dope.
And that was like people were like, "This is the flag of like Catalonia, like the
Yeah,
Republic of
this is
Catalonia."
our
And yeah,
state.
and then
Yeah,
they tried to like leave Spain, like they tried to secede from Spain because like those large that like Barcelona, I think is like the largest city in Spain, or like one of the largest aside from like Madrid.
mm,
And but I think Barcelona accounts for like 70% or something ridiculous amount of like the revenue that the country Spain brings in.
got
So like
you.
they disproportionately pay like an excessive amount of taxes and whatever, and all this stuff, right? And like Catalonia, like historically, back in the day, like when Spain was ruled by Francisco Franco, like he had
Damn.
like a
Throwback
dude
World War
throwback
II, all that.
throwback
World history,
WAP
real quick.
throwback WAP bro. Yeah, but like his whole thing
Yeah.
was like trying to like create like one identity for Spain.
Mhm.
So like he tried to suppress all of like the local dialects and local cultures within Spain, right? And like Catalonia, which is like which is Barcelona, which they have like Catalan and Catalonian food and music and et cetera, et cetera. Like
Yeah,
he wanted to like kind of get rid of all the different types of distinctions within Spain and just have like one Spain looks like this and you know in one language and etc. So like historically, like that whole region has been like rebellious, you know what I mean, or like at least politically and stuff like that, or like a lot of politically charged area because of like what Catalonia is historically and all this stuff. So
that's wild.
it's pretty crazy. It's pretty interesting, like being there and like we learned all that stuff too when we were there. So
That's
um,
wild.
it's really interesting. I think that's cool. That's another cool thing about traveling too. Like you go and you learn like about a place, you know,
That's
and
actually
you
how I felt about when I
pick
went
up a
to the
bunch of
East
stuff.
Coast. When I went to New York, Boston, Philly, whatnot. It actually made me realize how messed up California got from COVID, like the lockdown. I feel like a lot of people are just super antisocial nowadays, and like it's just hard like to connect. On top of that, I don't know why. It just feels like East Coast feels a little more real. California is kind of like bunch of. I know a lot of people are just like cloud chasing nonstop, and I find that like so annoying. Like in New York, if someone doesn't like you, will straight up say it to your face and just move on. I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, 'cause I feel like, for example,
like that happened to me all the time when I was there.
like a New York City, Philadelphia, those are like blue collar, like working class.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's
Mhm.
like they're in your face and all that stuff. So I can definitely see how that would be. It's cool, honestly.
Bacon, egg, and cheese. Okay.
Still on the list, top 5 most expensive states to live in.
It is. So I gotta.
What is it? It's Cali 5, New York 4,
What are-
Massachusetts is 3.
Dang.
Yeah. I forgot. Oh, Washington D.C., which it counts as like a
State.
district. It's number 2. Yeah.
It was number 1.
I will like remember it off the top, but
Bay.
no, it's not California. I know that for a fact.
I would have thought New York
Hawaii.
was number 1.
Hawaii's
Oh,
number
yeah.
1. Hawaii's number 1. That's also somewhere that I personally haven't been to since I was a kid. I went there for
Let's go Christmas time.
my mom's 50th birthday. I remember that. Hey, I'd be down, honestly,
It's
but
still gonna be like $1,200, but I'm down.
I would say if I do want to go, I want to go to like the Big Island or like away from like the tourism. Because when I went out as a kid, I was in the Waikiki Beach area, which is
Full of tourists.
downtown on Honolulu, just full
Yeah.
tourists. Going to a McDonald's, a Big Mac's like double the price. So it's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like, first, why was I in a McDonald's?
Hawaii's also not like the safest place too.
Hawaii?
Yeah, it's not the safest place.
Really?
I remember watching the news
fuck?
in my like hotel room in Hawaii, and there is actually like
Mad
some
crime in
mad
Hawaii?
crime
What
going
the
on
hell?
there.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a similar thing. How it's like the Honolulu, like the Oahu, Maui, like they generate so much of the money
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
everything in the tourist spots, where it's kind of like sucking up, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
so like some people are like
Getting sucked up.
displaced, and like poverty is a thing there. It's actually is like a
Yeah, I
real,
seen
real
that. They
thing
have like
there.
a really high homeless rate too. Yeah,
Yeah.
I seen that. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
And it's still the most expensive state to live in. I don't think anything's gonna change.
Would you want to be a bum in LA or a bum in Hawaii? I think I'm down to be a bum in Hawaii.
I feel like a bum in LA, I have more means to move around. I feel like in Hawaii, like where am I gonna go? Bruh, a tourist,
pick a pineapple or
will see
something.
me and just run
Yeah,
away, or
yeah,
so
yeah.
they're not gonna help me out. I feel like in LA, you'll have people who will actually. There's more like social programs in this area. In Hawaii, it's just get off the street,
True, huh?
or we're gonna bring the hose or something like that. You know.
Yeah, go live in the forest.
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, we've been talking about a Japan trip for a minute. I'd be down, honestly. The culture there is amazing. It's funny how I've been talking about a Japan trip, and then it hits like my phone, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels of people going to Japan, and that's because they're always listening to us. Of
Hey,
course.
buddy,
So
Edward
that's just a
Snowden.
general.
Edward Snowden needs to get pardoned. That's I'm saying that right now, bro.
You know what's the hardest part about traveling is like trying to find a gym to work out at. I'm like the type of person that needs to do some Well, I have like too much energy in me. So if I don't like unleash it somehow, it's just gonna go bad.
Yeah, I'm always trying to unleash this pent up
Pent up aggression.
sexual aggression.
But yeah, summer's coming up, hitting the gym. What about you guys?
Shit. Yeah, gym definitely. I just started gymming, like going consistently. I mean, worked out for like used to work all the time, like in high school and college, right, playing sports and stuff.
Yeah, you were like the quarterback of our like high school at the time.
Throwback. Yeah, back in the day. So like, I mean, worked out forever, like in high school, like every day, and then in college, like worked out too all the time, and then after college, I started working my job, and then I stopped going to the gym, and I just got all flabby and weak. You know what I mean? And I was just like, all right, yeah, like I think I need to go back. And
Corporate jobs.
yeah, corporate job, totally like just like draining, right? So then like didn't even have time to go to the gym or the energy. and then finally like switched jobs right now. So now I'm working from home. At it like, and then now, but now I'm started going like a lot more consistently. So I mean, it feels pretty good. Like I feel good about it. Like I've been able to, I feel like improve in the time that I've started going. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it. I like going to the gym now. But it took me forever to like stop being lazy though. Like I was always just being lazy about it, and then and like I'm like I don't know. I feel like I was like I would be lazy about it, and then like I would like eat like I don't know, just do a bunch of stuff that were like piling on top of like being lazy. You know what I mean?
You feel like a fat ass?
Yeah, yeah. Like I'd be lazy, and then like I wouldn't go, and then I would like go get some like food outside, like order some food, right? And then that just like was on top of me already not going, and I was like, you know, I felt even worse about not going. So, but it definitely took a while to get over that.
It sucks too, because I also did high school sports, and like high school sports was like the means of like
The
staying in
working out,
shape,
yeah, yeah.
like basketball practice, suicides, down and backs, and you're playing basketball all the freaking time and all that stuff. So I got in shape just from sports. When I went off to college, my first year, the gym was on campus because I lived on campus. So it was highly accessible for me to always go to. So that was something that I always did. Second, third, fourth year, I live off campus. Gym's not that close to me. I have other classes I have to study for. And it's just like when your priorities aren't right and like you don't really care too much. Because what I would do is just like study, maybe go to the gym, but then I would just eat like crap because I just wanted something quick and fast and all that stuff. When you start to like grow up and you just start like figuring out things, like you just kind of get back into a focus mode, especially if you do have the time in your schedule to work out. Um, like him too, within the past year, I started getting back into the gym. Got my gym membership back on. I've been trying to go consistently at least 4 or 5 times a week, at least, and also just trying to improve in the kitchen. Like I feel like nutrition's a big aspect of everything that we kind of still try to ignore. But just being back in the gym, feeling better about yourself. It's not always about the aesthetic. Um, thing that you want to get out of the gym. It's also about just like feeling right in general. Like I also want to feel like crap every time, every single day. So
I feel like if everyone like goes to the gym or like at least does some kind of exercise every day, they'd feel a lot better about themselves. Because like if you think about it, especially during like again with COVID lockdown, we were all like pretty like depressed, sad. Like we were just doing a bunch of college activities at the time too. Like we were just like
college activities.
yeah, let's just say college activities. And
Fucking smoking horn.
yeah, well, I might edit that out. But yeah, dude, I feel like going to a gym really helps a lot. It's just like it takes away all of those bad thoughts. Like, man, like did I do anything good today? Like, if you go to a gym like once like in the morning, the first thing you do like, I did something good today. At least like that'll like give you momentum to like keep going and going.
facts. That was a big thing for why I stayed consistent my freshman year of college is because I was so stressed with classes. I would go to the gym at night, lift, play some ball, and that would just like clear my head. And I think that's something that I still do to this day. Like I go to the gym in the morning, clear my head, get me started, get me all energetic, get me excited to actually go to work.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I think the gym outside of just making you feel physically right, it can also help you in feeling mentally right, which I think is a huge thing, especially with COVID and everything like that, which kind of I don't know stopped how the world progressed for 2 3 years. I feel like
You know,
just
apparently it
feeling
wasn't really
right
that bad
mentally.
for like other states, like Miami didn't never or like Florida didn't close down. What were the other states that didn't close down? I think it was Texas didn't close down either.
Yeah,
All the red states.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, and like Miami's actually on the come up. Yeah, like
Are they?
yeah, they are. Apparently, it's like the new LA. Like well, LA's like going downhill.
Yeah, you be seeing like all those creators and stuff like
It's
that.
like
But like, I
Yeah.
moved out of California because of all this, and this, and then
it's
they
all
would go
like
to like
all the Joe Rogans are like I'm moving to Austin.
Austin,
All of a
Texas.
sudden, everybody wanted to go to Austin, Texas.
Yeah, I was considering it too. Joe Rogan almost convinced me.
And then they literally like single-handedly. I feel like people who moved out of California to Texas single-handedly raised like the
Yeah,
price
they
of
did.
homes
Yeah.
there, right?
It's like now Texas isn't
single-handedly.
that cheap anymore because all you motherfuckers want to go there.
Now they're trying to do a thing in Arkansas, I believe, where they're trying to build more communities that are really, really affordable. So people are starting to move out there. I believe that's where the Walmart headquarters are.
In Arkansas?
Yeah,
So
something
everybody's gonna be like
that.
corporate slaves in
So
the Walmart town.
so what they're saying is like the main Walmart office is like a huge community they're trying to build outside of there
That's
of like
creepy.
affordable homes, right? But
That's
like
creepy.
that's something they're trying to market off to people.
That's
So I
like
think that's pretty
a
interesting.
that's creepy. That's like a thing people talk about like when there's like used to be these things back and they call mining towns,
Mhm.
right? And it's like people that like there's like big mine in the area, right? And it's like they like that company that owns the mine like builds houses and builds grocery stores and all that type of stuff next to the mine so that all the people
Yeah.
that work in the mine can live there and have their families
Yeah.
and yada
Like
yada.
a
That's like what
like
Walmart's
a,
doing right now. Making
a
a little mining
Pittsburgh or like
making a little mining
yeah.
town.
Exactly. Something like
Give them their mining bucks to spend at the mining grocery store. that's a, that's like a late stage like capitalism
right. It just try
like
to
a horror of society or whatever. That's
try
like
to squeeze every
like
single
that's like something that people are like terrified of. It was like mining town or like those types of like cities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like everybody's like late stage
Absolutely.
capitalism.
Amen. Stuff happens.
I guess
That's just
the
the
machine,
financial system. The
just the
machine.
machine doesn't stop.
Exactly. Absolutely. The machine.
You know, speaking of machines, you guys hear about the new Neuralinks? How they're approving for human trials?
Hey, that's would you guys get a Neuralink?
Can you give me an explanation of it first?
So first, like the Neuralinks are like I don't know if you've seen like Black Mirror. It's kind of similar to that. Like they'll implant it inside your brain, and it's supposed to like help you with like think better.
So like a
yeah.
brain chip.
Brain chip, basically. Yeah, faster processing, better memory. Apparently, eventually over time, you'll be able to like do telekinesis type of thing, and I could just think to Julio, and he'll know what I'm thinking.
So you'll just like give
And
me
we'll just like
little
talk like
eyebrow
that.
raise, and then it'll be like,
That's gonna make raising up
yep,
chicks.
yep.
So
I'll be like Bruce.
that's gonna be like how you raise up a girl in the bar. You're like trying to
Cause like figuring out all the way like to hit her.
you're trying to like airdrop. Nah, you like airdrop some shit to her nearly.
Exactly. It's like, hey, my number is.
Yeah, did ass.
But yeah, what do you guys think? Would you guys get it?
I don't know. I mean, it's like when it will. I mean, I think all that type of stuff that comes out, I think it's pretty interesting. So like when it first, I remember when the Neuralink first came out, I watched like all these videos on it, right? And it like discusses like how it works, right? So it's like a little machine that'll drill like a hole in the back of your skull, like kind of like the size of like a penny, and then it would put like this Neuralink device like connect these little like electrodes like into your actual brain, connecting it with the actual nerve endings, and then like through that like that's what's gonna like power it and stuff like that. Like that's how it works, right? So like the first like proofs of use for it is to like give it to people that are like blind or like uses for are supposed to give it to people that are like very like seriously medically injured, right? So
Yeah,
people
or
that
like
are,
disabled people.
yeah, like people that are blind, people that are medically like can't walk, quadriplegics, paraplegics.
So you think it would be able to kind of mess with the brain and everything like that to try to
That's
increase communication with a person's, like, for example, if someone's a quadriplegic, like
it like re-stimulates the nerve.
that's wild.
So then like your brain is like sending that electricity to that part of your body again,
to
right?
have the muscles and everything
Yeah.
like that fire to make
Yeah.
them be able to work.
So that and like the crazy thing that I think like yeah the whole fucking thing is crazy to begin with. But then like I think the craziest thing right is like where like the thing actually happens, right? Because it's like actual wires.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Like on a fucking like on a thing like red and blue wires that connect
Mhm.
into your brain. That like
Mhm.
I can't even think about like what like a nerve in my brain looks like. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, there's pictures and stuff like that. But you know what I mean? But to think about like this or like your brain
Like having
like
electronic
little
in your
neuron
brain.
being connected. to
like
that.
literally
like
touching like
plugged
the,
into your brain like
Yeah.
that to me is like insane. Like I think that's so crazy. But like the fact that that exists right is insane. But like I don't know, like yeah, that's crazy. I think I those are like the first initial uses of it, right? But then like of course like If it gets better, it gets cheaper, right? Because right now something like that is like super expensive.
Yeah.
So like as like the technology advances, it gets cheaper, it gets safer, and then the technology of the Neuralink gets even better. Like then that's when people start talking about like, oh, like we can go travel somewhere and not have like go to Japan,
language barrier
yeah,
or anything
and
like
then like
that.
someone speaking to you, but
It
the
can like
Neuralink
tap
in it is
into
like
it
translating directly to
immediately,
your brain,
Mhm.
in English, and then you
and you can be
can,
able to
yeah,
output whatever.
Yeah.
and then that person has a Neuralink too, and you just talk to them in English, and then their Neuralink is translating from English to Japanese. You know what I mean? So like that's kind of like the futuristic, version of it.
That would be if everyone conforms to having one.
Yeah, of course, yeah. That some people
Obviously,
are
right?
gonna be like, oh yeah, I don't want it. But I mean, it shouldn't be like, I don't know. I think that goes into like a whole other topic, right? Of like, because like now people can do like gene editing. So
Yeah,
like if you
yeah.
know that you're gonna have a baby that has like Down syndrome or something like that, right? Like there's, I think in some cases you can, like in the future, right, or like try to like genetically like alter
Yeah.
those genes so that the baby is just born.
Or I heard there's like another way where we could like pick the gender of your baby.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Or like you can like choose like, mom, I want my baby to have blue or brown eyes, things like
Right.
that, right? So like
Yeah.
I don't know, like
That's
would you
crazy.
like what if society looked like a bunch of people that were like genetically enhanced? Like you can't get flu,
There
you
you
can't
go.
get
Some
sick,
Black Mirror
you
stuff
can't get
again. And
cancer, you can't get
see,
this, you can't get that. You know what I mean? Like you're just immune,
Mhm.
right? Like people would just live forever. Like
Do you think a future like that is more realistic, or like a future like Wall-E? If you
oh
guys haven't seen the
yeah,
movie Wall-E, basically what happens is Earth gets trashed and humankind evolves into like fat pieces of crap that can't even walk and like flies into space. No offense to overweight people. I was one too. What do you think?
what was I gonna say? Because okay, first, if we were to make everybody the same, sorry, I've been taking a lot of biology
oh
classes. This would
Or like
like
yeah,
genes and
this
it
would
stuff.
would be
like
normal.
get rid of that whole survival of the fittest thing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
which I feel like wouldn't be good. Because what if there is a singular disease that someone or certain people aren't immune to? That's going to lead to chaos and mass death. So I think it's better that we are all different in all our ways right now. So like, there's not one singular thing
Oh,
that'll wipe off our
but we're so
existence.
advanced. We just no disease can touch us though.
But the thing is, bacteria and viruses are ever advancing too.
Oh, right,
That's
right.
why they're saying in more years we have to keep making new antibiotics here and here, because more and more bacteria are becoming immune to the penicillins of the world and all that
Mhm.
stuff. So that's a lot to think about, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I know what you mean. I think I don't know. Like I think of it like in a resource way. Like I think of like, say, like I know I see your point though. I know what you mean. Like the more like genetic diversity like lets like other people's genes like evolve to be able to combat that, right? That's like your point, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
It's like I get that. I think like when I was thinking of it as like, say like we're past that point, like to where it doesn't matter like what bacteria does. Like we are just so fastly like advancing, have like the answers to so much with like things like AI and etc. And that
yeah,
advances even
that
more,
we'd be
right?
able to
That
just
could like at the
eradicate.
same time as
Yeah,
bacteria is evolving, like we have new answers, right? So
yeah,
like I think like I always think of it like as like people, if we get to that point, right? If people have like Neuralink and people have like super advanced diseases, like disease like vaccines to fight diseases, like etc. Things like that. Like people just live forever, right? Like what happens to like the earth in terms of like the way resources are used and like the way resources are used up, because people aren't going to be dying at the rate that they were before, right?
Yeah.
And people, I'm pretty sure, are still going to be having kids.
would you think our carbon footprint would increase tremendously where we wouldn't be able to
Yeah,
keep up
definitely,
with all
yeah.
these people
Well, I think
unless we
we're,
make more advancements in food, clean water, all that
yeah,
stuff, which is a
definitely.
possibility, of course,
Mhm.
Yeah,
with everything that we've been talking about.
I think it's so like I don't know. I think it's so crazy. There's people that don't think like climate change and stuff like that is real, right? Or there's like a lot of
Yeah,
people
hell yeah.
who say like, oh, there's no hardcore evidence on like because like people who are like big advocates for like climate change and to like reduce climate change, right? Or all that type of stuff like sustainability. like they're always like, in the industrial revolution is like where stuff started like kicking off, because then you got like mass production, like factories burning coal and et cetera, and
And
dumping.
that's also where the population started to actually bloom around
Yeah,
the world.
yeah, and then you
So
start to see like rise in like greenhouse gases and CO2 emissions, and like rising temperature of the earth, and et cetera, and things like that. So some people say like, oh, that there isn't enough evidence. People who deny climate change, right? Like, oh, there isn't enough evidence to support that, this and that. Like temperature or rises in temperature of the earth have been happening way before CO2, way before
yeah,
industrial
but sea
revolution.
level is a perfect example of climate
Yeah,
change in general. If we've tried to calculate the sea levels just in our state alone, it's
yeah.
grown centimeters,
And
inches,
it's
all that
still
stuff. Yeah.
it's crazy. Like at my work, we were like discussing like trying to like win a certain project to consult like a state agency on like helping them do research to improve like a certain highway system in like Northern California. Like there's like a part of the highway up in NorCal towards like Sonoma, I think, that's like closer to the coast,
Hmm.
and there's like a small 2 lane highway there that is like at risk of getting flooded or being with below sea level by like 2027. And on there it shows like all like it'll show like what in 2027 that area would look like based on like all this research and stuff that the state has done. And
Damn.
it shows like the highway like completely underwater. Like it's
Damn.
pretty insane. So like, yeah, that stuff is real. I don't know. It's hard to like, I think, visualize, because like I think people like have their everyday lives and they go about their life, and you're only really concerned about what's going on in the moment,
In
right?
the moment,
Yeah.
And then you
honestly.
never really think about like, oh, and you don't really worry about like, oh, someone's like, oh, the water sea level is rising like so many inches or feet a year or
Yeah.
whatever, right? You never
Like so many major cities right now are sinking. Like New York is actually sinking.
yeah,
Like Manhattan Island. It's like the buildings are just too heavy, and I think they're like it's
that's
like
crazy.
2 inches every year, or something like that.
That's
It's like
crazy. That's a
going
lot.
in, yeah. And then Jakarta is actually it's predicted in 10 years is gonna be underwater.
Holy damn.
Yeah, because they're taking like all of the underground like fresh water
Mm,
and like it's all like dropping down
dang.
the city. So
That's crazy.
go to Jakarta now before it's too late. Telling you.
Fool
Got
you.
me.
Back to
Got me
Neuralinks
moment.
though, because I wanted to talk about that. So I believe what would be like its first use, like connecting to like our devices, like
What,
would that?
literally?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So so
Would
it's
that be
supposed to
like
like be able to like let's say I just think about what temperature I want it to be, boom, the AC will turn on, or like the
okay?
heat will turn on, stuff like that. It's also supposed to help with like let's say disabled people, like it's supposed to like power their brains to like feel like they're capable of doing things. Like a lot of things, it's just
That
like
is
all in the
wild
mind.
though.
Like
That is wild though, because there. Oh my god, that is nuts. So you're saying it's gonna give them motivation,
yeah,
I don't think it's motivation. I think it's
but
like
like
it's actual the nerve, like the electricity.
I
Also,
know,
yeah.
but like a bunch of extra potentials firing off, making you want to
yeah,
like do
making
shit.
you like want to go work out, like
But
stuff
then it
like
gives
that.
you. Oh, I get you. Don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
So I mean, there's benefits to it, but like, if you guys have seen Black Mirror, like you guys saw that Christmas special episode where like at the end, that guy that's like blacklisted, like no one could see him, 'cause, like he's just like
Oh yeah, yeah,
a
yeah.
blur red, and like he can't see anyone.
You didn't
Like, do
know
you
that?
think that's like possible? Like, if like
I don't know
let's say
that.
like pedophiles get
that
that treatment.
But I'm saying,
oh,
would it be like that? Because I feel like it's gonna get to a point where people will not want it, and some people will. What if the federal government starts to make people get it?
nah,
I
You know
I, I
what I
think that's
mean?
just too expensive.
no,
There,
no, I mean, I think. Oh, I mean that. I think that goes to like that's like a political question. I think it's like what. I mean, the like what if they make it like a COVID thing, right? They're like you can't go back to work unless you have a Neuralink or whatever. Like you know what I mean? But I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That's a tough one. Like, what type of government would do that? I mean, you have a lot of governments mandating vaccines, so like, I don't know. I'm not really sure.
But
Like,
there has to be a lot of like regulation and personal research someone has to do, obviously, to be even willing to have a Neuralink
yeah,
on.
yeah,
That's what we were talking about with like AI technology. I feel it for it to like advance and be a part of like our daily lives. there needs to be some sort of like regulation on what it can and can't do and how we use it and everything like that.
Do you,
So I don't know if that's
oh, I know what you mean. It's crazy. I was listening to like a lot of, like reading a lot of stuff about like AI, right? AI, right? Because right now, like the big thing is um like the Congress is doing a bunch of hearings on AI. So like they had
yeah,
one a couple weeks ago, like where they talked to Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI,
Mm.
and they asked Sam, they asked the guy, they're like, do you think that like this industry should be regulated, right? And he pretty much said, yeah, you should regulate. His what he told Congress is that Congress should create a whole other entity just for artificial intelligence, and then that organization is going to be responsible for like issuing licensing to run
exactly.
large language models, and
Yeah.
or like take away licenses, right? Or
Mhm.
like conduct some type of test to be able to tell like, yeah, what the language model you created is like valid and you can put it out to the public and stuff like that. So, but a lot of people in like the AI world, there's like two sides to it, right? Because there's a side that's like, yes, you should need to regulate this for the sake of like safety and etc. And then there's also people that are like, no, like it's
Because
too.
there could be some lobbying involved. Well, my like con with that is like there could be lobbying involved from a specific
Oh,
AI
right.
saying, "Hey, I want this, this, and this,"
So,
or "I don't want
got you.
this to
Right,
be
right.
here." You
Well,
know what I
so
mean?
yeah, and then that's like a big thing. So like, so the two sides of the aisle, right, on the issue is that's one of them, right? Is that like it's like, no, don't regulate it, right? Because there's now like a special interest that's involved with AI, like a special interest like piece that gets thrown in, but then also like there's people that are like for the sake of like capitalism and for the sake of like free market and like free market economy and etc, things like that, like you shouldn't regulate it right now because one, the technology is so young and
So
it's
raw, so
not
new.
at the,
Yeah,
yeah, it's so raw. So like
yeah.
you creating like a whole other entity to supervise and create licensing and take away licenses and to be the one and only person to like do validation tests on like how well this language model does, how the AI does, right, etc. Um, like a lot of people say like that's kind of like anti-competitive because now Sam Altman, the guy who's like the head of the company that's created ChatGPT, now that he has such a head start in terms of like where the company is with creating this type of technology, that he's going to go to Congress and be self-serving to tell them to like, yeah, you should regulate this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because then now he's kind of able to shut the door behind them in terms of like, now all you guys need to
What is
wait
okay?
to get
Yeah,
licensing and regulation and
yeah,
tested by the government. So then there's like an anti-competitive side of it. These
yeah.
people that are like free market economists or like free market capitalists, right? They're like, well, you shouldn't regulate it because one, the technology isn't at the level to where it's like a concern to human beings, at least like in the terms of like being an existential threat. But it's also like, oh, like you're kind of like pulling the rug out from everybody else that's working on this technology right now, because now I work for another small company, a software company that's like doing AI stuff. Now I have to go get to the special agency or whatever to get a
That's why
license.
we just have to find some like common ground on it. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, I feel like we don't want that anti-competitiveness, where we do want it to advance, but we also need to understand it. At the
Right,
end of the
right.
day, like your average consumer should be able to know what they're doing
Right,
with
right,
AI
with it.
technology.
Yeah.
Exactly. I hate all that.
But at the same time, I feel like ChatGPT will like ruin a lot of education for a lot of people. I'll be the first to admit, I tried using AI to like do a paper. Well, it was like not an assignment, just for fun. It looked pretty good. I would say like because I gave it like the same instructions, like one of my college papers. And let's just say AI is like way smarter than me.
Politics.
Have you guys been keeping up with
20.
politics?
We're a year and a couple months away from election,
2024.
right? November 2020, the second Tuesday, I believe, of November is election day. Yeah.
Uh, yeah, politics. Yeah, I mean, I'm not voting. Fuck that. Period.
Anyone?
You guys voting?
Well, I'll be honest. If I were to vote,
He's like, I've
I'm a
never voted in my life.
Hey,
like,
I,
I'll be
I actually
honest.
voted for Kanye West. I'm not gonna lie, just for fun.
I voted for
I knew he
Mojo
wasn't gonna
Jojo.
win.
Mojo
I
Jojo's
voted
crazy.
for Mojo Jojo.
Mojo Jojo.
But I think I know it's gonna look bad, but I would go vote for Trump mainly because if you look at the 4 years that Trump was president, uh the economy has never been better. Like if you look at it like right now compared to 2016 to 2020, despite like not including COVID, like 2016 to 2019 was like some of my best years, I'd say.
What do you mean by that? In what way?
I would say like it was so much easier to find a job. I get that world peace was more in order. I get that what Trump promotes is like kind of like stereotypical whatnot. But if you look at it like let's say like Putin would not have try to take Ukraine if I think if Trump was in power, and I feel like North Korea would not be acting up like they are if Trump was still in power because Trump kind of like he put like a fear into them like oh yeah you got a nuclear button, I got a bigger nuclear button, and then like yeah, but I feel like I'd rather have world peace rather than and like some kind of chaos in America rather than just like chaos everywhere. Because if you look at what Biden did, especially like when we left Afghanistan, like he left all those weapons there. Those are billions, millions of dollars worth of weapons, and he just left. He's like, I'm out of here. You guys can have it. And now like places like China, it's like they have like the blueprint to like how to make our like advanced helicopter and like military stuff. And I think it might be just Biden, but it's just like I feel like if the Trump was in power, like it would be a lot different. Things would be a little bit better, a lot better.
How do you feel about that, buddy? You voted for Trump. Guns and Trump.
That's one of the funniest videos. I think at the end of the day, the president's just ahead. I mean, I don't know what kind of influence they have. Like, I get what you're saying, like an economic boom, but you have to take into account, like, there wasn't shit going on. Like, we slowly started getting out of these long ass wars that we were in the Middle East. Um, I don't know. There are advancements like technology here and there. The economy was booming at a great place. The baby boomer generation was starting to retire um, here and there. So there's a lot of factors. I think the president's just ahead in everything. I mean, Congress is very, very important in terms of regulations and policies and everything like that. The president only has so much of a say. So yeah, sure, like I guess Trump had a relationship with Putin. I don't know what their relationship was. He had some sort of relationship with North Korea, but I don't think a change in presidency caused Putin to invade Ukraine. I think he's just a power hungry guy, and I don't know. In terms of who I would be voting for, I just have to look at the election cycle. I actually don't even know too much about the candidates. I know that DeSantis announced. I know Mike Pence is planning to announce sometime in the coming week. I know Trump's leading polls and everything like that. I know one of the first caucuses, Iowa caucus, I believe, is coming up soon. So that'll tell us a lot about what voters feel and everything like that. So we'll just see how this election cycle goes on the Democratic panel. I remember originally in 2020 when Biden was elected, they were all like, he's going to be a one-term president, and then he's running again. And oh my God, shocker that the Democratic Party can't find another candidate to get behind because they never could ever. Even when they had Hillary Clinton running, like I knew like
I think that was
it
a
would
bad
be an
pick.
absolute struggle because you even saw from the Democratic National Convention, like it was even showed that they tried to blackball Bernie
They
Sanders so
did. They
much,
just
Yeah.
rigged that against
which
them.
which created so much mistrust among voters, which is why the 2016 result wasn't really a shocker to me. I was just like, you did this to yourselves, like
Yeah, yeah. No, yeah. I don't think I'm gonna vote unless I mean, well, one, I think we live in California. I don't think it really matters. Like the two electoral votes, or however how many electoral votes California has. Like, I think those. I mean, I think those are going to be for a Democratic candidate, whoever the Democratic candidate is. I think as long as, especially with Gavin Newsom as governor of California, like, um, I think, well, yeah, I don't think it really matters, but yeah, no, I don't know, it's kind of crazy, it's kind of insane. Like I think the level of, and it just seems like there's a bunch of idiots like doing shit. I thought Trump was an idiot. I just didn't like who he was as a person. So
Yeah.
like I think it was hard to get behind anything else. Seeing him trying to do anything else other than like uh just like exist, you know what I mean? But like
Mhm.
and then Biden, I mean, yeah, I'm not a fan of Biden either. Like I think Biden,
Yeah,
you know, he's
we
kind of like a
haven't had.
centrist, like establishment Democrat. Like how different is he really from Republicans? Like yeah, maybe he's not so blatantly like conservative like with certain things, right? But at the same time, like I think like fiscally, economically, like he's still,
He's really not like a new voice. I don't
yeah,
know.
he's
He's not like,
there isn't
you
anything
know.
progressive about him, and
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
like his progressive stances like that he was taking before he got elected with like things with like legalizing weed and student debt, et cetera, things like that. Like I think those are just kind of words that he's just saying, you know, to get elected.
Because
I
there's only so much he can do. That's why I always
Yeah,
say,
yeah, definitely. There's only so much you can do, definitely. But then also at the same time, like I think so much of politics is just like trying to get like identity politic wins. Like I think it matters more to the left or the right to look like they're promoting values of the left or the right versus than actually trying to like compromise on things like economic situations, right? Like I don't know, like this morning I was listening to a different podcast and they were talking about like the U.S. in terms of like why like debates with the president, right? Stuff like that. Like, but like they're never really talking about things that are really like an issue, right? Like things that really people matter about. Like it's always kind of like large, like identity type like arguments, like debates, and not or maybe now, right? They're about the war, or they'll ask them like, "What's your plan for the economy?" and this and that, right? And they always kind of give some like bullshit answer, you know, like we gotta build job growth and lower interest rates and increase corporate taxes, right? And yada yada. At least that's what people on the left say, and like, but like at the same time, like I think people on the left, like Democrats, like they one could ever get behind a candidate, but they're also just everything's so bought, like in terms of like lobbying, right? Like, yeah, you have someone try to promote like progressive views or
and
liberal
within the
views.
party, exactly. Within the party,
Yeah,
there's moderates, there's progressives, like
yeah. It's I don't know. It's
this,
kind of like annoying. So I mean,
yeah.
I would like to see somebody run as independent, like, or I would like to see somebody. Yeah, probably independent. That's probably like the only realistic like way like somebody else would be able to, um,
And it
you know,
sucks because I literally see on the news like why a third party system is bad to introduce the United States. I'm
it's
like, that
so
is
like
the opposite.
propaganda. It's like
Exactly.
all
I'm just like,
propaganda.
my
I don't
goodness. I'm
know.
like, I wonder who this media site who put this
Yeah,
article out
yeah.
is from. Like,
Those are like the
out of
people that
one
just want to
side,
keep it to two
The
parties.
which is so
ATN.
dumb. Which is at the end of the day, I think the congressional races are probably some of the most important things because that's when you can actually hear what people will bring forth if they are elected to Congress. State level things are always important too to see what their plans are for the state budget, for any props that are coming up and everything like that. So I'm someone who I like to vote locally and state more than the federal level and all that stuff. Just because like I care about where I am at now, and it's cool that our system is in such a way where states can have a say in their own kind
Yeah,
of stuff. So I don't know. That's how I kind of feel about the political system. I've always been a state level person.
I'm not gonna vote till they get rid of the electoral college. Then I'll vote.
Gee, gee, man.
You
How
gotta
do you
wait a
think
while.
Al Gore feels?
How do you think Hillary Clinton feels?
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah,
But the OG guy who won the popular
yeah.
vote, like, nah, Bush,
They're like, hey, buddy, like he's electoral college votes. Like, what the fuck is the electoral college, bro? What the fuck? Like, what's the point
That's
of
funny.
voting if you're just gonna have people vote already?
That's funny.
Have you guys heard of microdosing?
Oh yeah.
I actually learned it. I learned it from Joe Rogan. Take 100
Fucking
milligrams
Joe Rogan.
shrooms a day, and like first thing today, and like see how you feel. And I actually I've been testing it out. Makes me feel a lot better. I would say I would get less annoyed with like a lot of dumb stuff. You know, like let's say Justin like pisses me off. I'll just be like, it's okay,
He's like,
buddy.
let's say you say some dumb stuff.
It's okay. I'm not mad
If
at
I
you.
just start blurting out words all of a sudden.
So yeah, but a guy likes to make noise over here.
But yeah, absolutely. I've heard of microdosing. I was reading this article. This is like 3 years ago, so I don't know where the studies are now. At UCI, they were looking up the effects of microdosing on a person's mood. So they want to do more substantial studies to see, like, hey, microdosing could be something that the medical field could implement for patients. For example, for mood, anxiety, depression, things like that. Of course, some might say it might give you an adverse effect of creating more and more, but that's why they're trying to study the effects of microdosing and how it might, you know, be able to help somebody out who might be experiencing a bunch of things. Because they do that with weed, with medical weed for pain, anxiety, all this other uses. So that's why they're trying to get into more of an aspect of something like psychedelics, shrooms, acid, all that stuff. Yeah.
You could do that with ketamine now too.
Oh, really?
It's like ketamine clinic.
And I know that I think the best way they're trying to do is to like decriminalize the use of it in areas where they're trying to test this out. Because I know in San Francisco, there's like clinics where you can go to like
Yeah.
do whatever people are doing, just to make sure they're doing it in a safe spot and everything like that.
My house. My house is one of those places.
So yeah,
For all the guys.
Come shoot up in my house.
Yeah. I'm talking about. But algo más.
Mm,
Psychedelics is fun. I've tried shrooms and tabs. It is completely legal. It's on my blood system, so I won't cut this hard out.
Jeez.
Is it actually legal? I don't even.
Is it legal?
As someone who works in the medical field, I have to know like Schedule 1,
I
2, 3,
I think
all those
you.
medications.
Do you guys
That's
think?
why.
Do you guys think drugs? Or like I think drugs should be like every drug should be like legal. I think they should make everything like legal. Like
Like how legal? Like over the counter legal or like in store legal?
what do you mean in store?
Like you could go to CVS and
Isn't that
get
isn't that
one.
what, isn't that what over the counter means?
No, over the counter is like yeah, through a pharmacy.
Oh really?
The opposite. Opposite.
Oh, it's opposite.
Over the counter is like you go to like
Over the
CVS, right?
counter, go pick up some pain meds.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Anywhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it should be. Yeah, I think it should be like that. If I was like president or whatever, like I would make everything legal. Um, I think like doing drugs, like especially when it comes to like hard, I think everybody like I don't even consider weed a drug. Like if you think weed's a drug, then alcohol is a drug. I think like you have a lot of people a lot of people in general want to get high or get drunk or whatever, right? Smoke some weed, drink some beer, or whatever. Like I think that's normal. I think like at like a basic level of like being a human, I think that's normal. Like that's natural. Like lots of animals do that. Like they do things to get high or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I think when it comes to like harder level drugs, like meth or like heroin or whatever, right? Stuff like that. Like I think people that want to do that shit are gonna do that shit, like regardless of whether it's legal or illegal, right? So I think like when it comes to doing hard drugs, it's more of like or people that are addicted to drugs, right? Like people like that go through like a hard time. I think that's more of like a mental health issue than it really is like a criminal issue. You know what I mean? Because I feel like it's treated criminally, right? Versus like where it should be treated like a mental health thing because you're dealing with things like addiction, right? Like I think it doesn't matter, like, because you see tons of people that come from all types of backgrounds, like that get addicted to drugs, and it becomes like a big thing, right?
Yeah.
But like, I think like if you want to do drugs, you're gonna figure out how to do drugs, like whether they're legal or whether or not. You know what I mean? So I think like when you make things that are legal, right, and you make stuff like heroin, like yeah, you can't go to the store and get heroin, right? Like, but like at the same time, like because it is over the counter, like there's some type of like or entity within the government that's regulating it, right? That knows what's getting in it, right? Because now like, the big thing is like whether you're gonna want to do drugs or not, it's up to you. Like where you
Yeah.
get the drugs is a big problem, right? Because
Yeah.
you get it, and it could be like laced with something, it could be whatever, it's just all bad. So I think that's kind of like my idea behind it. And plus like if something like this is regulated, like you can have something like someone that does heroin all the time go to like an AA for heroin, right? Like something like that would exist. That's like government funded, government run, right? Like something like that would not only create jobs for people that are like in social work and medicine and therapy and et cetera, their work at these types of clinics or whatever, right, for different types of drugs. But like that's all in the open and it's like it's transparent, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's you have also like we start to have real data on like how many people are doing drugs, like why are they doing drugs? And then that leads, I think, to more research in terms of like you have all this data that exists now on like why people do drugs, the type of drugs they're doing,
Yeah.
what's in the drug, what it's doing to your body,
Mhm.
et cetera, et cetera. So that's kind of like my reasoning behind it. I think like if people want like I don't know like life should be like laissez faire, like do whatever,
Hey, I
So
like
like
that.
I think you should like I think everything should be legal, to be quite honest with you. Like I think drugs should be legal. I think like there should be nothing against like people that want to like change their gender or whatever, like et cetera, et cetera. I think like when it comes to the people and the people are like what about kids and young children doing drugs and changing their gender and yada yada, you know what I mean? I think that's
The
like well, those are like issues with like at home, like that's like identity issues, right? Problems that person's having, like mental health issues, or
yeah.
um, they don't know who they are, right? I think like people don't know who they are in general for like a long periods of their life, right? So many people, even when they get older, don't know who they are, right? They go through midlife crisis and all these type of things, and people go through divorce and don't know what's going on with their lives, and et cetera, et cetera. So like, I don't know. I think like you should be like allowed to do anything like you want. Like I think things are more mental health issues than they are like criminal issues, you know?
I do see pros and cons to what you're saying about the drugs and having them all legal. I like that because the barrier some people might find in getting drugs may lead them to like that desperation,
Right,
which
right.
might lead
Oh,
them to
right.
getting
To doing
something that might be
crime.
more like laced with
Yeah,
something
yeah.
or going through that crime to get
Hmm.
what they want to get. I feel like if that barrier is gone, it allows people to
Yeah.
actually have the freedom of choice if they
Exactly,
do
yeah.
want to use it. And then if we are going to legalize, we do have to put forth some sort of like education for
Right,
people
right.
to actually know, like,
Well,
hey, this is what this does, this, that, that,
well,
that,
that's
that.
like it's like with alcohol. Like alcohol in the 20s and 30s was like prohibited in the United States. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm,
Like
mm-hmm.
there's prohibition. Like you couldn't buy alcohol in a bar and stuff like that. Like that stuff was illegal, right? But they're like now, like having a beer is like is like one of the most like not normal things in the world. You know what I mean? So I don't know. Like I think everything should be legal. Like prostitution should be legal.
I think people,
Number one. That's number one on my. That's number one on my desk. First 100 days as a president. Sex
right
work.
now. Um,
we're expediting this bill.
but yeah, so if barriers are like eliminated, like I like that though. It gives people a chance to actually make a
Make that decision.
decision
Yeah,
for
yeah.
themselves, and they don't have to be influenced by
And,
anything
and then
like it being illegal.
exactly,
You know,
and then also like I think in it being legal too, like I think it puts more like burden or more responsibility on the parents of like these children to
actually have the
actually like
conversations,
address
train, tell them
these types of things,
this.
like this is
Yeah,
what it is and this
yeah,
is et cetera, and
exactly.
then also normalizes what it is to where like now it's something. I think when something's illegal, something's prohibited, like you kind of like want to do it because it's illegal, right? But then like now, like something that's normal, it's normal. You don't really feel as like
Yeah.
But yeah, do you think that's like cause of just bad parenting, or would you say it's like people just are interested in drugs?
I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with doing drugs. I think if I was gonna like if I think if you have a problem with somebody doing drugs, I think you should also have a problem with them getting drunk, drinking alcohol, right? Because
Yeah.
like, what's the overall goal of that, right? It's
Mhm.
Or like eating junk food,
yeah, right. Like,
right?
what's the
It's
overall
where
goal of that, right? It's to like get a little high, get a little buzz, get a little drunk, get a little tipsy. You know what I mean? Like people
be
enjoy that.
happy, have some satisfaction.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? So like I think, and like that's why people do drugs. I think like you see people that are doing harder drugs, right? But I think it's because like they've gotten used to that feeling and they develop an addiction to that feeling. Like you could develop addiction to like anything. People have a food addictions, right? People have like
Some gambling addiction.
gambling addiction. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? Like people kind of get stuck on that. So I mean,
Shit happens.
yeah, I think as a parent you need to communicate that.
Yep.
And that's your responsibility as a parent too. Definitely.
Anything
That's
else
it.
you want to add, guy? Before we get out of here.
I need to put some pants on. You guys need to get dressed up.
Well, the only thing I would say to that's like, I do agree with you. Like, I feel like people should be allowed, but there are some things like, let's say heroin. I would say that's a little over the board, like over, because that could ruin your life. There are drugs that can ruin your life.
Alcohol could ruin your life too.
I would say it has a lesser chance because I feel like heroin is like a 90 to 100% chance to get addicted. Right? I like something around those lines. Something around those lines. I remember I looked it up.
And that's why we have to bring up statistics. If we ever do make any of this legal, we need to bring up statistics. We need to bring up what this does to your body, all that stuff.
Mhm.
So people can make informed decisions on what they want to do.
So is your problem? Is your thing because it's too easy to get addicted to it?
Yeah, I feel like something like no, it's too easy and it could ruin your life.
What about like? I think the ruin your life thing. I think alcohol could ruin your life. Like you could get wasted one night and drive home and fucking kill somebody, and then like your life's kind of ruined.
Unfortunately, we do know.
Yeah. You know what I mean? That's not like a big, but that's not like anything new. But like, I think like if the thing is like it's too hard to get addicted, like, well, what about something like porn? I feel like porn's really easy to get addicted to porn, especially like you just stay watching that shit. You know what I mean? So like, should that be illegal? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I see what your point though. Like
I get what
like something like that. Like I think it sounds scarier than it really is. You know what I mean? I think like and then that's also like a big issue too, right? I think something sounds real, right? You're like, well, it's kind of like what like you start to visualize like what if there was like heroin at the liquor store and you could just go buy it and shoot it up.
Yeah.
Well, it's like, I mean, there's fucking like straight fat bottles of like tequila at the liquor store. Like, why don't I just go and start drinking the whole thing by myself? Like, what's stopping me? Like, if I really want to get like wasted, you know, or if I really, and like, what are the odds of somebody really just trying to get high on heroin? You know what I mean? Like, I think that it's like the same thing as like,
and it's just like why we don't drink an entire bottle of tequila to ourselves because we know the consequences.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm like, like if I do this,
we can make informed decisions.
Yeah, like if I do this, I'm gonna be out for the next day because I'm gonna be hungover as fuck. And the same thing, like if I do some heroin, like I'm gonna be high as shit for like 4 or 5 hours. I'm gonna feel like shit after. Tomorrow, I'm gonna be wanting more, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I mean? So like, I think like that's kind of like, I think that's also part of life too. Like I think like life is meant to experience different things, and like whether you experience heroin or not, or something crazy, like something very like intense like that, is up to you. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's like entirely your. It's exactly. It's like entirely your own decision to like experience something like that, and like whether you do or not. I mean, like what, like who is like a government? I'm not saying the U.S. government or whatever, but like who is like a government or even somebody is other human to tell you not to do that? It's like, well, I mean, it's my life, dude, and I think that's like the whole thing when people are like, oh, like I want to free, like all the conservatives, like I want free America and da 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 da, and it's like, well, do you really? Like, do you know what the fuck, like a free America, like, well, like an actual like free society looks like, bitch? Like I don't think so. Like I don't think you know. Like it's like do whatever you want, bro. Like sex work, so like, and then like I think that's when people kind of get like confused, right? Because you have people that are like hardcore like moralists, like these conservatives that are like, I want freedom of speech and da da da, and it's like, well, not really. You just don't want to hear what other people have to say.
Exactly.
And it's like you don't actually want like free people to do whatever they want, because if you wanted people to do whatever they want, there'd be people like fucking being wild as fuck. You know what I mean?
I mean your house.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like you want like, and there's a set of ideals that you want that are like very conservative for a specific group of people because you believe in, you know what I mean, whatever you believe in. So I don't know. I think people get confused there, but I don't know.
But I do agree with that. Yeah, I feel like people should be allowed to experience what they want to experience, and if you don't want to do it, then don't do it.
Yeah.
But I think that's a wrap. Been at this for like an hour and a half now. We'll close it up, buddy.
We out.
Shout out NordVPN.
All right. Thanks, Julio, for coming through. We'll see you guys in the next
Yeah.
one.
See you guys on the next one.